This is ACOFAE. Laura Marie and Jessica Marie proudly present A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, a podcast. Fair warning, everything the hosts say is explicit, full of spoilers and adult content and shall not be used against them. They have opinions. Let's try not to drag anyone for expressing themselves and just have fun for an hour. We all deserve it.
This episode does not contain spoilers, but does mention supernatural and Weepsy Bat.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, your weekly deep dive into the YA literature and fandoms that we love. I'm Laura Marie.
And I'm Jessica Marie.
And today we are discussing The City of Brass. This is the first book in the Devabad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. And Jessica Marie, you said to me recently that you wanted a straight-up political fantasy. Did this deliver? Yes or no?
It did. And I'm dumb, but I had fun. I'm not a smart person. I'm smart in the things that I do know, obviously. But this one was just, now that I have a handle on it, I want to go back and read it because I feel like I don't understand some of the politics just yet. Not because the author did a great job world building. I'm just stupid. But I also think that there were some focuses that I was focusing on the wrong things. And we had discussed that earlier in the episode. I go, wait, there's 6 Jinn tribes and here are all of them. And I don't remember anything. Did I black out? And you're like, no, they weren't a huge part of it. Like, just enjoy the ride. So that's just my problem with like having to refocus, which is just consistent with every time I read something new with YA. But in a good way, because I want to know more. And this series delivers, especially as a first book of a trilogy. That's exactly what you want.
Yeah, it is, I think, exactly what you want. But I'm biased. I love this book. I love this series. I've read this particular book now three times all the way through. And it took me this third read to really kind of grasp what is really going on, because I have read the entire series once all the way through. So I know the whole overarching...
Oh my gosh, relief.
Yeah, so like I know the whole overarching like plot. So it is amazing to me how much and also how little we get in this first book in particular, because it does feel like we're getting so much information, but in the scheme of everything, we really don't know what we don't know. Disclaimer in this episode, I have just gotten a dog. So if you hear... A new ACOFAE member. So if you hear sniffs or dog collars, I apologize. He's not great at being left alone yet. We're working on it. Yes. But as I was saying, I am very biased. I do love this series. I'm very excited to talk about it. We both did the audio for this. Is that right? Yes?
Yeah. But I think when I do a reread, I would, now that I know the pronunciations, I would have an easier time following along, or maybe just like understanding the politics a little bit more if I like read it in conjunction, traditionally read it while listening to it to kind of follow along. And even have the map, because and we'll have the links in the show notes, but prior to recording, if you go to her website, she has the glossary, she has maps. I mean, that's the one thing with audiobooks is you obviously, depending on how you're reading or what you're doing, I mean, it's great for multitasking. But sometimes we don't always have a map in front of us when we're listening. So that would be super helpful too.
Yes, I do have a hard copy in front of me. I got the signed copies that the author was doing through her local bookstore, and it does provide a map, and it is incredibly helpful. just incredibly helpful. But all of this information, just like you said, is available on her website, which is amazing. And I have to say, though, it's not my first place usually that I think of when I go for information, which is like weird. But I don't know.
I think it also depends on the author, though, because some will have everything readily available and some will just use it kind of as like a holding space. I think it just depends on how you want to kind of build that brand for yourself and like what you want available for the readers out there.
All of this to say that the pronunciations are new to us and it is not something that we are super familiar with. So please be gentle with us. We are trying our best. But Jess, this book has a lot of characters, but we have our mains. So tell me who is in this book.
Our female main character is Nahri. She has healing powers. She also can speak every language. She's a polyglot. But she's also like, how do I know everything so quickly? Like, girl, but she doesn't even think magic is real at this point. But we find out that, I'm not even going to get into it so deeply just yet. We have kind of like multiple male main characters. It feels like you have Dara or Dara Yavehush. He's a male main character. He's also the last descendant of the Afshins. We have Ali or Alazaid. He's a prince. He's the second born prince. And he is very devout in his religious practices. His father is the king, Ghassan. And Nahri also has two other kids, Zainab, which is Ali's sister, and Muntadir. He is Ali's brother, and he's actually next in line for the throne. And as we get into the episode, again, he's ultimately kind of paired with Nahri of kind of setting up kind of their political marriage alliance. There is Ghassan's Grand Vizier, who's Kaveh. Manaiza is one of the most powerful Nahid healers, and we believe her to be dead until basically the last page of this book. And then you also have the Shafit, which are people who are mixed with human and jinn heritage. And there's the Ifrits, which are jinns who were cursed thousands of years ago, and now they're just kind of stuck in their own head and they're not supposed to have magical powers, and they do. I think we covered most of it.
Yeah, I think those are most of our mains. As just said, like we have like more male perspectives than usually I think we're kind of used to, which is like kind of cool. I really like Ali and I like where his story kind of goes. But this story starts off in Egypt. We start off in Cairo where we meet Nahri. She is scamming the Turks, right? Like right away, we love it. Make your money, get the bag, whatever. Nahri is doing the damn thing. We find out that she can read people. She's really good at scamming, obviously, but she can kind of like sense sickness on people. And because of that, she has a reputation. Again, very cool. It's how she's making her money. She also just like prescribes random bullshit from her friend Jacob's apothecary and then like kind of robs houses when she tells her customers to go to these springs and things. Very, very fun. I like this setup of Nahri a lot. I'm also just a sucker for Egypt in any kind of time frame. So this was really fun for me. And also through these context clues that the author gives us, we can insert a realistic time frame here, right?
Yeah. And I mean, even through some interviews, again, we'll have in the show notes, but we know that this, like the time frame for, I want to say present day, I guess like real life, before we go to the city of Daevabad is 18th century Cairo. So we know through their travels, even from going from Cairo to like the fantasy cities, there's certain things that are consistent, like the Euphrates River in another language. Nahri is able to translate it, and she's like, "Oh, this is this river. This is where we are." So even though the city is I say fantasy. It's fantasy to the people that she's used to working with in Cairo. This city doesn't exist to anybody else because nobody believes in magic. At the beginning of the book, she doesn't even believe in magic. Jakob, her friend, is like, you need to be careful with what you're doing, what you're playing with. There's spirits, there's magic, there's this, that, the other thing. And she's like, yeah. It's not, like every single, great YA story. Magic's not real. It's not like, I'll be fine. Nothing bad is going to happen. Like everything in the first chapter. This is all in the first chapter. So you're already like, if you know the genre you're reading, you're like, I know what's going to happen. Now, how do we get there? Let's get into it.
And we get there pretty quickly, I think. We get there from the Tsar. Like Nahri, like she scams these guys and kind of like goes through her daily routine and is, we meet Jakob, who's very sweet, who she kind of like tutored under. Then the apothecary took her in when she was like an unmarried woman. It was very weird, like unusual, but they have a friendship. But I mean, we're at the Tsar right away. And I love that Nahri's just like, yeah, I observed a couple of these and I just learned how to scam these people and I'm going to keep scamming these people. And it is what it is. But the Tsar with Basima, who's like possessed, by an Ifrit, it's the whole thing. I love how Nahri's like, yeah, I'm going to sing, but like, I can't really sing. So I'm just going to like do my thing. I'm doing what I do. What's up? I know this language that literally no one can speak. So I'm just going to start with that. Cause that's, nothing bad has ever happened when you're in a semi-magical, maybe kind of situation. You start speaking a language no one has ever heard before. Nah, we're fine. It's totally safe. Totally safe.
And with that appears Dara, our djinn, and he's like, how do you know that? Who are you? He has all the questions. She's having all the questions because she's like, my bad. This wasn't supposed to be real. What is happening? And she also, it almost feels like they get chased right away because her using these powers kind of summon the Ifrits. I'll get there by the end of the episode.
They do.
You would think after reading the audiobook all weekend that I'd get it, but I didn't.
So you're right, though. The Basima is possessed by the Ifrits, and the Ifrits are working with, let's just get into it. The Ifrits are supposedly partnered with Manaiza, and they are after Nahri, and they are told not to harm Nahri. But this one is just like, well, fuck that. Fuck you and fuck these orders, because he chases them through the cemetery, them being Nahri and Dara, who have arrived at this point. And the ghouls are coming, and the ghouls are attacking them. There's skeletons coming everywhere, right? And there's all of this like stuff being said. It's like, you're a witch just like your mother. It's like, sir, I don't even know you. Why?
And let's not forget, okay, so we know this because we read it, but to share here, at this point, Nahri doesn't know anything about her family, her background. She grew up in an orphanage. She doesn't remember anything. And I say that loosely because, as we had said, like she can sense when people are sick. So she was always kind of the outcast because she can tell, what did they say? How would you feel if you were the kid who knew who was the next to die because of consumption or because of another disease? Or like she was always going to be like, who's this weirdo and picked upon? So like she has been on her own for as long as she remembers. She doesn't know anything about her history, where she's come from. So at this point, Dara is making these comments and she has no idea what he's talking about, what his references are. But now she feels like, I don't know who you are, but you already know more about me than I do. So there becomes kind of like a tit for tat kind of thing. I'll go with you, but you got to tell me this. So I'll do this. But like, you told me if I would follow you, you would tell me when I came with you. So like, tell me more information because you're the only person who knows something.
And he doesn't actually give her a lot of information because right away he's just like, you're Shafi, you're dirtborn. Like, what the fuck? What is going on? Like, what? He is like this whole thing. So Dara, I think it's very important to point out that Dara is 1,400 like years old kind of at this point. And he is like blood purist, right? It's not he's not good about that. He's very like prejudiced and judgmental and vocal about it, and makes it weird in a lot of situations where he starts talking about it like loudly because he thinks he knows better.
Yeah. And then he like you said 1,400 years ago, he knew what this meant. He goes up. This is what happens when my Jinn people get a little too rowdy. They don't know how to control themselves. And next thing you know, they're procreating everywhere with humans.
Yeah. And then it takes Nahri like, healing. And then the Ifrits are like, you're the new Banu Nahida. And all of this is really thrown on Nahri right away. But she is being attacked. And Dara's like, well, we have to get out of here. We have to get out of here. Find a carpet. Let's enchant the fuck out of this carpet and fly away. And they do. And I love it. I imagine on screen it would be very beautiful and like majestic, right? And you're just like fucking going. But
with the right budget, sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it could also look terrible, but like with the right budget, it would look beautiful. But I also like that we do meet a magical birdman. I love magical birdmen. They're so fun. Bird person. We love him. Hazor. I like Hazor. I like him a lot. I like the descriptions of Hazor, and I like everything about him.
He's the sassy, like he has that personality of sassy best friend. Like he's the one who's keeping the conversation going. He's like, tell me about yourself. Tell me about you. What about this? What about that? And, Dara it's just like has a headache at this point. It's like, what is going on? And we only know him as Dara too, because there's power in names. So he won't share his name, but he insisted that he had Nahri, and Nahri's like, I can't argue. We have to get out of this, like these situations. So I'll give him this truth for now. I'll pick my battles of what I can. What I'll argue with him on. And
the Ifrit too mention names. They're like, what's your name, girl? What's your name, girl? When they're talking to Nahri. And Dara's like, don't tell him. And the Ifrit's like, I know it's not her like true name. Like it doesn't really matter. Like it's fine. And that's when I was like, ooh, okay. So maybe they are working with Manaiza. It's just like very little interesting detail. When we meet Hazor, I do like that Dara's just like, yo, what do I do? My guy, my friend, my only friend. What do I do in this situation? Because I don't want to take her to Daevabad. And Hazor's like, man, be an Afshin. Be who you are supposed to be and take her. It is your duty to get to Daevabad. And then thus starts their trek, their like 1 month trek across the desert to get to Daevabad.
And he hasn't been to this city in centuries. Like this is not like a place that I don't want to say welcome to, but like he's the last of his family because his family's been massacred. So, and his role for his family was to protect the Nahid family, which he speculates that she's a part of because of the powers that he knows she has.
Which I don't know. Something about friends and friendship that I find very fascinating is that you keep learning new things about each other, even though you've been friends for a really long time. So Jess, I know that you and I have talked at length about wishes and how specific you have to be. I don't know if I've specifically told you this, but let's learn something new. One of my wishes would be to have some version of Nahri's power, which would be to understand, speak, and be completely fluent in any language that you hear, like almost immediately after hearing it. That is something that if I could have that, my life would be easier.
Well, I didn't know that. So thank you for sharing, because I was going to ask about it, because I know our editor, Sam, is like, he's really good with languages. Laura, you've shared that like languages are difficult for you, but you're really good with French, especially if you get a couple drinks in you. I know that. There's always something about like the liquid courage, I think, that helps anybody learning a new language. But I think it's so amazing to have any language. I mean, would you want to raise that and say like, I also want to talk to animals and be like Dr. Dolittle of it all? Or are you like, I have a hard boundary there?
Yeah, I do. I have a hard boundary there. I would wish for the ability to, if animals, this is off the rails actually, sorry, but if animals wanted to speak to me, I would wish to be able to understand them, but I would not wish to be able to hear animals' thoughts at all times. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
that makes sense.
If
you don't want to infringe on that.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. But I want the ability to hear them if they decided to speak to me.
So if they took down their Damati walls, you'd be like, oh, I could hear this. They want me to think this.
Yeah, they want to speak to me. They want me to understand this. Yes. But I think otherwise I would be like infringing upon their secret world, and that's not my right. So yeah, okay. This is off the rails. Very fun.
So fun.
But actually, no, on the rails, because Dara is, that we can just talk about this before we start talking about Ali, but Dara spent a significant portion of his life in slavery, right? As let's say like a wish granting jinn to the human world. And he, murdered like 800 of his masters. Good for him, because the Ifrit send off Sheen's slaves into the human world to create havoc as revenge, let those slaves go mad, and then dump them back on Devabad's doorstep to cause panic, which is kind of set up for us when Nahri and Dara eventually do get to Devabad. But that whole side plot kind of Dara and his background and slavery and the wish granting part and like the very specifics of it, there's a part where Dara is giving his master the most prized or like most unique or wonderful drink of the ancients, right? And it was just like diluted hemlock, and it was going to kill him immediately. And Dara's like, maybe his next master will be more specific in his wording on wishes. Just like,
I loved that. Right away, I was like, oh, you got to be specific.
Mm-hmm.
But she sees that, and it's interesting because she sees this. Because there are moments that we have in this book that she's seeing his dreams unintentionally. So that's why she's learning things about him, especially because it's like his memories are kind of unlocked when he's sleeping, because the first bout of her finding out about his memories, she's trying to steal the key to run away.
Yes. Oh my gosh, to try to run away. I love a female MC that is just like, you know what? Fuck this situation. Fuck this whole situation. I don't want to be here anymore. I also like that when Nahri is in Hierapolis with Dara, and she burns the carpet, right? And she's like leaving, and she's like, oh, I'm fine. I'm leaving. I can do this. I have supplies. It'll be fine. But that emerald though, I should steal that emerald.
That's right. She didn't want the key. She wanted the ring.
Yeah. She's like, you're getting ahead of yourself.
I know.
It is
one way or the other.
It is one of the same. Yeah. It is one of the same. But yeah, she's like, yeah, I can steal the shit. I've done that before. I've stolen stuff off of people before. I respect that.
I've done it when they're awake. Yeah, she's like, I've done this when they're awake. I can do this in his sleep. Like she's very sure of herself, and she's always, and let's not forget, like, she has always been a survivalist. She has always been in a survival mode. And that she even brings that up later in the book with like one of the conversations that she's having. She's like, you don't know what it's like, you don't have a place to judge me because of what I had to do to survive the life that I lived. Like, you don't know what it's like to be this type of person, to be completely ostracized all the time, to be on your own, because, and at this point, we know that she's not 25 because there are certain rules in Daevabad that you can't do, specifically marry or certain relationships, until your first quarter century. So here we are, 25. So she's not even 25 yet.
No, I'd say she's like, what, 18, 19, maybe, if that, yeah.
Oh, see, because at the end of the book, I was like, oh, maybe she's on the cusp. Maybe she's like 24 because they were all about signing papers and stuff. So I thought she was a little bit older.
Ali's like 18. And I figured they were like about the same age.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're about the same age then. Yeah, I always age them up sometimes too. That's my own fault.
Well, and they are very, like, these are princes and healers. Like, these are mature people. So let's talk about our prince. Let's talk about Ali. Alizaid. And my note says 18, so he must be 18. Alizaid is our youngest prince. He is the slur for him, which is, not great, is the half tribe brat. He is half Ayanle and half Gaziri. His dad is Gaziri. His mother is Ayanle. Those are 2 of the 6 tribes of the Jinn. And Ali, he's a lot of things. His reputation is that of a fanatic, that he is excellent military mind. He's excellent with the Zulfikar. That's their flaming, like, copper sword. That he's also, like, their father's favorite. Alizaid, his headspace is frustrating to be in at the beginning because he's so, like, unbending, right? And it is fun to see everybody so annoyed with him and, like, so just done with his, like, self-righteousness and his unwillingness to compromise and just and people being like, you are annoying to be around. I don't want to be around you. Like, stop this. And Mutadir kind of, like, pulling him out of that. So I like the progression of Ali's character, but, like, when he starts spouting off about, like, blood purity and those fire worshippers and, like, all of this bullshit, I just want to be like, you are such a spoiled little brat. But that is, of course, the whole point of this.
Right. I mean, there's certain points where, and he's very vocal. He's very vocal about his beliefs, where he stands, what he believes is the truest of true and the rightest of rights. And he could never, there's sex workers in Daevabad, and then he will have people in his, he has 2 girls welcoming him in his bed, and there's one, and then he's also working with the Tanzim, community and kind of giving them money, and the dad finds out about it, and we're jumping ahead. All to say, there's a point where he's like, if you weren't so vocal about where you were in your beliefs, I would have just thought my son's finally spending his money on just living it up, having fun. Here's some girls, here's some money. I just am, just having, a time of my life with this party money as prince number 2. But his dad's like, but you didn't. You are very vocal. And so that only led me to believe that this was how you were spending your money. We'll eventually get to it. But, like, I mean, he's just very devout in his beliefs, and he's very and rigid in a way that you're just like, but let's see that there's others. You've lived a life of privilege. He has, aside from being taken, he was like, he was taken from his mom at 5 so he could go to the Citadel and raised to be basically his brother's right-hand man in every capacity, because his brother is going to be, he is heir to the throne. He wants to be able to be his right-hand man and to protect him, to be the person who, if all else fails, he's the one. Nothing's happening to his brother. It's going to happen to him.
And his brother, Mutadir, I really like Mutadir. He's a really fun character. I think personally, he is just the exact opposite of Ali, right? He's like a womanizer. He's all about the brothels. He's, he negotiates very well.
Oh, yeah. He was trying to write in his mistress into the contract with marrying Nahri later in the book. I was like, man, he is thinking about everything.
Yeah, he's done, but he also very much protects Alizaid, very much protects him from his father and kind of deflects things that is going on, which is nice because at the end of this, that is kind of just like not the case anymore. But it does start off very strong here, especially when Alizaid and Muad'Dib are at a party later. That is just very good. But Alizaid Ali becomes our main character. He gets his own POV when he is made Qa'ed, which is like the like security chief of the city of Daevabad, and he is forced to move to court by his dad. Because his dad already knows about Ali funding his rebel groups. He already knows about Sheikh Anas and the weapons and the kids. Like his dad already knows about this, and Ali is just like, eh. So his dad is forcing him to court to prove his loyalty, and Ali just doesn't know that yet. I love the deep politics that are being played here. It is very fun. We have stumbled now about a little bit of lore. So Dara, through the travels with Nahri, like drops a little bit of lore on to Nahri as they go on. And also like Ali drops a little bit of lore. So I have like a little paragraph of just kind of world building that I think is just like, let's just get it out there and then move on with the story. How's that sound?
That works.
Yep. Okay. So we have Suleiman. Suleiman formed all 6 of the Jinn tribes. Okay. Suleiman scattered all of these tribes. All of these tribes have different abilities. Okay. The Devas are in Daevabads. Okay. When you mate with humans, those are the Shafit. The Gaziri specifically loved humans a lot, and they were from Yemen specifically. So they see Suleiman, his gifting, I would say, the Ifrit bodies and like tangible bodies, they see it as a blessing and other people see it as a curse. So the Gaziri see Suleiman's blessing and everybody else sees it as Suleiman's curse. Everybody is called Jinn, but Zaidi al-Qahtani rebelled and he stole Suleiman's seal and then had the Devas killed, and that was 1,400 years ago. Okay, so that is kind of the background that we get through the travels with Dara and Nahri, and we get more like later on. But the world building is really essential, but also having read the whole series, like so much more is built on top of this that not understanding the like groundwork here is not a deal breaker because of the like really spectacular reinforcement that happens later on in the books.
Okay, that's good. Because I feel like that information was just kind of given, but then not. And I go, wait, like, did I miss a whole section like we had talked about in the beginning of the episode? But to know that there's a payoff, but that's like, you know, sometimes it's fun to be a part of the journey. And then other times you just want to know everything now. Or like that's really what makes rereads so fun, because then you're not focused on where is everything. Now you get to kind of be in it or just understand it a little bit more.
Ali does not understand court. Ali does not understand court at all. So when he doesn't take any notes, I felt for him. When he was just like, yo, Rashid, I was supposed to take notes on that. I didn't take anything. Rashid's like, I got you on notes. Interesting.
Hey, if you want me to look for like a court secretary, yes, please. You want it? I'll take it. But you know, I think it also kind of, talking it out now, it reinforces the fact that he was never meant for court, or he was never like groomed for court. He was groomed to train as a protector, as security, as a warrior, not necessarily for the court politics. He was just kind of like, he's the soldier. You know, he's the doer. You tell him what to do. He kind of like acted first, thought about things later. And now he's trying to find a way, find a balance between that, because his dad says, you know what, no citadel for you anymore. No, you're coming back home. You're living under my roof.
And the roof is one of my favorite things. The roof is the Nahid Palace, which is Nahri's like family, the ruling family. which were killed and, taken over by the Gaziris, which is Ali's family. Now, the palace, they call it a haunted palace, and like walls show up when there aren't walls, or, statues go to the top of the roof, doors are sealed shut, and Ali doesn't like it. He gives it he feels like we are not wanted here. Like, this is not for us. And everybody else is just like, yeah, whatever, it's fine, ha ha ha, it's haunted. And Ali's like, yeah, no, though,
Yeah, see, Ali's picking up on the vibes, and everybody else is. The thing is, I don't want to say the other people aren't picking up on them. It's just they're ignoring them because they also know the truth and the history. What does Ali's brother say? He goes, "Oh, you have so much to learn," because his brother was like, "Oh, how was that date, or how was that meeting with so and so?" And he's like, "Oh, it was very successful. He just hooked up with somebody." And he's like, "Oh, I'm glad to hear." And he was like, "Oh, little bro, you have so much to learn." And that's good. But he's as annoying as he is, he's also very sheltered from everything. I think it just continuously drives that home.
Yeah, I really do think so too. Because after, Ali gets worked up over several things. But one of the times Mutadir is like, okay, look, I'm going to defend you because Hanzada called you a mixed tribe brat, and I cannot let that stand. This is at the party that Ali goes to with Mutadir. He's like, look, Hanzada, that is some bullshit. You can't say that about my brother. But also in Gaziri, in the language that only they can speak, the Gaziris, Mutadir is like, Ali, you're being a fucking asshole, my guy. You cannot talk like this. This is not what this is. And also you cannot run off and scream at people because those people are positioned so that your outburst is going to make you look like you are irresponsible and you can't be here. It's a whole fucking thing, my guy. You have to play the game. And I just love that. Obviously, this is just so politic heavy because Rashid, who introduces himself as this helping hand to Ali, does end up kind of dragging him in to a situation he doesn't want to be in, and then fucking him over and then dying. Rashid does really manipulate Ali when he takes him to that orphanage. Jess, we have a rook in this book. Were you expecting a rook?
No, but I was excited that I knew what it was.
Right? This book is kind of a really good summary of, or a litmus test for fantasy in general. It's okay, do you know this, and this? Okay, then, you're doing pretty good on your YA fantasy. And you are.
I thought it was great for just to have Jinn in general, because I feel like I knew about them from Supernatural, obviously, and then we had exposure to it a little bit in Weetzie, but I don't think they called it a Jinn. I think they just said a genie and a magic lamp. But Jinn in this book is also, we have 6 tribes, we have different backgrounds, there's a variety of types, and then with Dara specifically, you knew the type of Jinn he was because there were I could count on one hand, especially when he was kind of going in feral mode, trying to protect Nahri at the end. And she goes, "I wish you would stop." It was the certain language that she had to use where he really did stop. And it wasn't she had 3 wishes. It was just the specific language in order for her to kind of tap through to him.
Yes. And were you expecting their kiss?
I was hoping for it, but I was like, no, it's not going to happen, but I would love for it to happen, even though I don't consider this a romance at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. And this, technically this is an age gap romance, I guess, if you want to get really technical about it, but they don't have a romance.
Do age gap romances count if it's fantasy? I know some people will argue yes. I think it depends. I don't know, because now I'm thinking about some other books that I've read where I'm like, ew, gross, that's too much, because it felt very grooming. But then in other capacities, I'm like, hey, it's fine. Give me a Illyrian male anytime.
Well, an Illyrian male, I think, is a really good comparison specifically to Dara, specifically when referencing a himbo, because he's just not the smartest. Like, he's just not. And like, everybody knows it too. And everybody says it to him. And he just can't play the game very well. And you know what? That's fine. He's sweet. But he does get hot and heavy with Nahri, even though he's like not supposed to. And he like knows he's not supposed to. But at this point, like, they are almost in Daevabad. They have been traveling together every single day, nonstop, for, over a month at this point. And I like the slow build of trust between them. Nari's like, before I really wouldn't have acted this way, but I don't give a shit. We're so dirty. We're both so gross. Like, we're both in the sand together. Like, I'm going to lean on him. I don't give a shit. I'm going to sleep next to him. I don't care. Like, we're travel buddies. I get it.
At this point, like, I don't think anybody cares.
No, not at all. Not at all. But we can't have nice things, because as soon as they kiss, like, there's like thunder, there's a feeling that Nahri gets, and Nari's like, something's not right. And I really like, Dara. He's like, I didn't hear anything. We were making out. Like, I didn't hear anything.
I just think it with my dick.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. But Nari's like, it wasn't something I heard. It was more like a feeling. And of course she's right. Because we have, Ashma, I believe it's Ashma, who is the Ifrit who is attacking them. And he's the one that starts like really talking in this situation. This is kind of like our last big battle before we reveal Daevabad. So we're at the Gozan River. We're right here. The Ifrit's attacking. Nari's like falling down hills. She's running in water. She's trying her best to like get away from these Ifrits, who are now saying like, I'm going to return you to Manaisa unharmed. She didn't say shit about the Afshin, so like, whatever. One of the other Ifrit is Kendisha, and she is the one who killed Dara and enslaved him. So there is trauma there. And also, there is a fucking water serpent. Lots of water serpents I feel like we've read recently. I don't know why that is. I just feel like that is a theme. I guess, yeah. Two is, two's a lot. So this is number 3. So we have our third water serpent in our book. Very fun, very scary situation, right? Especially like Jinn are fire. So that he's, Dara, her protector, is terrified of water. Throwing that out there.
Which makes sense because we know that. But I also think that Nahri thinks it's so funny. She's like, wait, we've been traveling this whole time, and that's the thing that's good. What was it? Like, he was eaten by a rook and he got swallowed, and he used his powers from the inside. Like, think of the scene from Hercules when he gets swallowed by the Hydra. And like, that's kind of what Dara did. And he like burned him from the inside out. So she's kind of like, we've gone through all this shit, and this is what scares you. I mean, I guess that is like Illyrian. We got Bryaxis all over again.
Yeah, right. It's just very fun. It's very fun, these little things. But also, Kendisha refers to Dara as the Scourge, and this is our first kind of like someone else is saying something about Dara and being like, you don't think you know. You don't even know what you don't know about your guy.
Yeah, because it's another name. People are referencing him, but she has no knowledge. She's like, okay, there's something about this Scourge. But she doesn't know the depth of it and in what relation to it. Because even later in the book, where like Dara and Ollie are having a one-on-one, he's like, Ollie even says, have you even told her your history? And I mean, he hasn't, but in a way she knows certain things because she has seen his past through his memories, through his dreams, because she even has that realization at the end of this book where she kind of put it into perspective to say, okay, this is all he knows of these people. And I can see why he thinks the only way to protect me is to get me out of here.
And they think like Daevabad is the safest place for Nahri to be, which is, very fun, very fun. But to get there, we have Hyzor. Hyzor comes in and saves the day, our favorite bird person. Like, he comes in, green feathers flying, and he's like, no, with that fucking water serpent and the wave and all of that. But in doing so, he betrays his people because he's interfering. His people, the Peris of the wind, and he dies. And Nahri tries to heal him, and she can't. And Hyzor's like, yo, you can't. Like, I know it. You know it. It's fine. Like, my people are going to come for me. It's all bad.
I liked him. I couldn't believe we got a death so soon and in book 1.
So soon. Yeah. And like, love. But it is through that sacrifice that Dara and Nahri are able to pass through the veil. And Hyzor would not have been able to go with them because only Jinn can pass through the veil and get to Daevabad, which is like the whole kind of crux of this, right? So the veil keeps humans and Jinn separate. That is like the big thing, and keeps Daevabad hidden. And you have to have enough Jinn blood to pass through the veil. Otherwise, you just don't go. So like Hyzor dies on the outside of that, and his people come and get him, and that's very sad. But then like we're on the boat. We're listening to, cheese merchants and like salt merchants and Gaziri, which is a language that can't be learned, which like kind of pisses off Nahri, which I love. But then we're in Daevabad. Wabam shabam. All of our main characters are now in one place, and the story like can kind of pop off from here. So it's like travel, but now we're here, and everything from here on out takes place in the city of Daevabad. Which is great. Very fun. I love Daevabad. The world building of this city, fantastic. I want a kind of more detailed map, but we can get that. And I like the setup. There's gates. We love a city with gates. There's marketplaces. There's bazaars. It's great. It's great. It's great. The city of brass, as it were.
And here is, they get to shore, and Dara is very much like, you need to we're going to be made really quick. You're going to get made really quick because you look human. So basically the first thing before we start dancing around is it would behoove us to go straight to the king. Go straight to
Ghassan.
Thank you, Ghassan. And it is there that he goes, she's like, well, what do I say? And he's like, you gotta tell him the truth. And he's like, oh, not the whole truth.
All of it.
No, yeah. So we gotta kind of, skirt around it a little bit. We'll fudge some stuff in the beginning, and then everything else you can tell him. With that information, Ghassan ultimately says, look, you are the long lost daughter of the Nahid. You have these great powers. You're going to be under our protection. If anybody asks, we'll say it is part of a curse, a hex that was put on you, and now you're a long lost prodigal daughter that's kind of returned, kind of thing, to the city. And right away, and at this point, Dara's like, like Laura had said, he's having that conversation. This is part of his duty of who he is and who his family was, to kind of be that protector of the Nahid. So they, Ghassan and him and his kingdom, with his rule, they put her up in the castle. Dara is very close by because he's her protector. There's lots of rules about, men and women being alone in the same vicinity without like a chaperone. But Nahri's very much like, I could get used to this. All this stuff is just like being handed to me. You don't understand. I've been struggling, like scamming tourists for so long and thieving and like having all these side hustles. Like I could get used like this. It is nice to live the soft life right now.
It really is. And the King Ghassan though is playing the game though immediately. And I love it though, because as soon as Nahri's presented, he's like, yo, Manyza? Manyza, is that you? And then it's like, oh no. What do you mean she looks Shafit? I see her. She's pure blood. Hello? Well, I can see it. And I love it because at the end, he's like, yeah, what did I say it was? Oh yeah, I sold that really good, right? I sold it so fantastic.
Well, then even Nazreen, she had said at some point, again, I'm jumping ahead, but she goes, they're playing you and you're feeding right into it. They don't want you to be powerful. They want you to play the game. They just want you for like optics, basically. They want you to be weak. Why would they want you to be strong? They need to utilize you for like the least amount of work for the maximum capitalist amount of gain.
Yes. They absolutely would. And that is kind of reflected in the politics in the hospital that goes on a little bit later. But Manyza, we haven't really talked about who Manyza was. The king, I'm just going to say, was like infatuated in love with Manyza, and like she didn't have anything to do with him. And he's like kind of salty about it this whole time because he says like throwaway comments like, we should have mixed the tribes. It should have been done a long time ago. I would have done it, if people weren't so up in arms about it. But Manyza was a famous, very powerful, very kind of like scary Nahid healer that was in the court until she and her brother were killed, and they were the last Nahids of their kind. And it is through this kind of reveal that the king kind of starts taking all of these pieces of Nahri's history and being like, well, I don't know. She wanted to go out in the desert for no reason. It was no reason. Well, maybe she could have given birth. And he starts to like really plant the seeds of legitimizing Nahri. And later on, the king is like, because it pleases me for her to be Manyza's daughter. It's just something that I like. And I love that he starts playing the game with Nahri here immediately, knowing that he's been playing the game with Ali from even earlier. It's just, I appreciate somebody that's just like, he knows. He's a king. He knows what's going on. He doesn't have time for this bullshit.
It's the politics that it's like, it's the forethought that comes with being in the political position that he's in.
Yes.
Because how weak would it look if who is this person? I didn't know who they are. Then it becomes that spiral effect of now you have people coming into your kingdom and you don't know who they are. You talk about security, like there's like a snowball effect.
Something that I don't like about book 1 specifically is the way that Princess Zainab and Nahri are just like pitted against each other and they don't get along. Like Zainab gets Nahri drunk with the hope that she'll pass out because she had wine and she had meat dishes, which are just things that Nahids don't do. So I don't like that. And Ali is also kind of pretty hostile to Nahri too when he's like taking her to the bathhouses and getting cleaned up and all of that stuff. He does say like, that was rude. That was really fucking rude to me and I shouldn't have been that rude. So that is kind of an underlying thing here. But then we do have our king again saying to Ali, you know what? Mutadir and Nahri are going to get married. That's what we're going to do. You are going to be her friend. And you are actually, though, working with the Tazeen. This is the confrontation, right? This is the big confrontation. And, you have been caught and you're too smart. You taught them how to hide their money. I looked into it because, like, I'm your dad and, like, what the fuck?
It's my money.
Yeah. And like, what the fuck, my guy? You can't do this. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you prove your loyalty to me by bringing over Nahri to our side, by like ingratiating you and our family and making her like love us. That is your fucking job, because you're obsessed with Egypt, and like, go learn Arabic, like go make a fucking friend. And my favorite line about all of this, besides the fact that Ali later on, it's like, yeah, Dad said it looked like you wanted to throw yourself off of the balcony. He was like, yeah, I thought maybe it'd be an option. I thought maybe that would be better. But Ali says, like, you want me to befriend her? A girl? It's like, a girl? That's, and like, that's really like what his underlying issue was. It's just like, I don't know how to talk to a girl.
Out of everything, that was his biggest concern. And his dad, and then he was like, but why me? Why can't Muntadir do this? And he goes, because if you're like the test subject, because you can find out what she doesn't like, and then we could set it up so we get to like avoid that and like make it work for him. And everything's easier. Yeah. You're just like you're the test subject. This is going to be great.
Because as the second son, Ali can't get married, because that, that helps to incite like rebellion when second sons have families and children.
Which was like, it makes sense, obviously, but I don't know. Like at first I was just like, I was stuck in second born son is the spare. So that's where I thought that this book was going to go, that his brother was going to die. And then like, of course, like him and his brother are having arguments. He's like, well, why don't you marry her? And he's like, 'cause I can't. I actually can't. So I was like, oh, I mean, the explanation makes so much sense, but I was just expecting it to go into a different way because of just traditionally, the second born son is the heir. But you find out more about, like, everybody thought right away that, that Ghassan was going to have his second, Ali unalived at birth when he found out that it was when he found out his wife was having another son.
Because it's rare. Because it's
rare and so close together. Like there were a lot of factors, and like his dad felt so betrayed, and he was like, "Does nobody know me? My own wife doesn't know me. I can't believe that she thinks I would kill my son." Like, and like you said, it's known that he is the favorite son.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. I really enjoy this. I really enjoy this. Something that I don't really enjoy are the multiple, and not because they're bad. It's just because I don't love watching someone struggle. Is the multiple scenes of Nahri trying to treat these patients and just like fucking failing. So like the first one's the fire salamander. Obviously she fucking fails. And, she ends up befriending Ali when she catches him swimming, and his swimming is a whole subplot. But the way that Nahri, and I really do respect this about Nahri is just like, what the absolute fuck, full stop. Full stop. Fire salamander? Are you insane? What? He turned into a bird. He's burning into ashes. What is the science here? You have humors. All the humors need to be balanced. And Nahri's just like, what the fuck is this? What is this?
I think she's so funny. I love it. Like when with the fire salamander patient, she's like, well, maybe if you didn't need a salamander, like it's just like customer service 101 when you got that Karen. And then she's like, I don't know. It must have been the neighbor. She hexed me. And you have Nahri like, I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
It was so good. I was like, oh, I'm right there with you.
But like, this is the first time, and it happens again, where Nahri's just like, fuck this, I'm out. Like, you didn't train me for this. You lectured at me, and I can't do this, and I can't do this. And it's not fair that you're asking me to do this. It's not fair that you think I should like pray to my altars. I'm not fucking religious. Like, what is this? And I love Nahri when she finally does stand up about this later. But in this first scene, it just like goes to complete shit. But it is what it is. But it is because it goes to shit, and she stumbles upon Ali, and they agree to like, be friends, like learn Arabic and like learn about all of this stuff, that we get kind of like extended scenes of Nahri and Ali like learning together, and like in the library, or they're like talking about locks or talking about sweets. It's very fun. It's a fun little montage.
And it's funny because it's like he's finally, like, granted he has this whole other agenda at this point to befriend Nahri, but you have people the rumors are going on about him, and somebody even says, like, do you know the rumors going around about you and Nahri that you're fucking her in the library? And like, it's so not in his character that he's like, what? I would never, like, that's not who, like, people can be just friends, now he's learning you can be just platonic friends.
He's like, no, that's not it. But she is gorgeous, and she's smart and she's funny, and Mutadir, like, you're going to marry her, but like, you should appreciate her. And she's so smart, y'all. Like, I like that a lot.
Oh yeah. Like he knows his brother's going to be like a fuckboy about it. And he's like, I know my brother, but like, she deserves better.
Yeah, it's just like, this is not fair, like, meh. And it's all true. It is all completely true, which, very good. One of the things that Ali has to do is he's supposed to like train Jamshid. And of course it doesn't really go very well. But he does have this battle that we talked about earlier. It's Ali training Jamshid, and then Dara comes in, and there's this whole like battle that they have where they're like sparring and like throwing out history and being like, well, you did this and you did this and your people did this and da 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 da. It's all very manly.
Words were exchanged, until there was like that final blow. Oh, what would have happened? Where were you when your sister was being carved into? I was like, oh, we are going low blows for this.
Yeah, and he ends up like breaking Ali's wrist because of this. And later on, Dara's like, did I really break it? His bones made such a great noise. I was so mad. It's just like, damn, boys.
Yeah, and then she calls him out on it too. She's like, wait, are you jealous? Like, and not and again, like this, the way it's delivered in the audiobook, it wasn't like a accusatory, are you jealous? It was like, oh my God, wait, we haven't like talked about anything since I kissed you twice. I kissed you twice. She's like, you're jealous, aren't you? Like, this is so fun.
And, part of me thinks at this point that he should be jealous, because by the time Ali has Nahri conjure flame in her hand, I'm like, y'all are too cute. Y'all are so fun. Like, and he's like, well, yeah, no, you've tried it twice. Do you know how many times I had to try to like light my sword on fire? So many. Like, just try again. And then he's like, try in Arabic, like try in your native tongue. And like, bam, she starts like having flame. And I like that, because that's when then, in my opinion, this is when Nahri really starts to be like confident in herself a little bit more. She's like, see, I can learn new magic here. I can do something instead of just failing constantly. Because I think it's important to reiterate that Nahri is basically a prisoner in the palace, in the infirmary, and she doesn't leave, and she hasn't left for a long time.
And to add to that, it's there has to be a passion connected to it, because that's what Ali was saying, like your native tongue that you're passionate about, that you're familiar with. And you later have that where Nazreen, she's doing, she's practicing for like her healing, and she doesn't care. Like, she's just kind of doing it. And Nazreen is even like, the fact that your concern is appeasing Ghassan and not even your patient. And we'll get into that hospital moment in a second. But then to come back to when Ali was hurt and she was just like, heal. Like, all she was saying was like touching the different points on his body, because she was so passionate and caring and making sure that everything was like, he was like healing instantaneously.
Yeah, he was healing instantaneously. And he also does that in the water too, which is all very fun. We'll get to that at the end when it's just like bam, 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 bam. But Ali does, when he sees Rashid again in the library, and Rashid is just like, you shouldn't be with Nahri. She's like, the Scourge's whore, I think is when they start to call her the Scourge's whore. And Ali is just like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm not going to fund you anymore. I'm not funding you anymore. I got caught. My dad knows about us. I'm done with all of this bullshit. Just take it away from me. And Rashid is just like, Anas is had all this faith in you, and he would not love this. And Ali is just like, look, I don't think you understand that there is an opportunity here with Nahri and Mutadir to bridge the gap and really make positive change. And BT Dubs, Mutadir said when he's king, he's going to give me all this power to like help the Shafit. So like, I'm doing it. I'm just not doing it the way that you want it to be done. And Rashid does not give a single fuck about that. And it's just like, fuck you. I'm out. Which is, you know,
it takes a lot. I mean, you see Ali's growth because he's starting to just kind of have a voice for himself and not just being a yes man.
Yeah. And also he's starting to think a little bit critically too, because he's been fooled by these people before. Even Mutadir is like, what did he do? Did he show you sick kids? Like, come on. Like, everybody knows that you have too much money and you throw it at any Shafit that looks at you. Like, we know this. It's just, it's all very.
Well, and to that, it's like another great example is when he was funding them. And then when he gets stabbed by the shapeshifter, like, he's stabbed by what, like, he supplied them.
Yeah, he supplied, and he didn't do enough, according to them. So, yeah. Oh, that's such a...
Meanwhile, it's just like one of those things. It's because if he never got in the first place, then it would be a non-issue. But then it was like, well, you gave us a little bit, and now you didn't give us enough. And like, it's this, but that, I guess, it's this another snowballing thing. But who's to say, like, what kind, you know, it's all the politics and all the communities involved, and, you know, people who are, you have disproportionate and marginalized communities within these conversations and any political conversations when, you know, that we're discussing in these books.
And also, we haven't talked about it, but the religious divide is pretty stark here between the Devas and the rest of the jinn, like the Gizanis and everybody. Like they have very different faiths. So the Devas are fire worshippers, and that is used as a slur against them. Yes, that's just very important. And Ali is not any part of this. Ali is like very strict to the jinn faith. I'm bringing this up because we are at now this scene at the Grand Temple where Dara's like, look, I'm going to answer all your questions, Nahri. We're going to talk. We're going to have so much time to talk. We're going to go to the temple. You're going to meet the priests. You're going to see our culture and our people and everything. I'm going to answer all of these questions for you. All he fucking does here is like toot his own horn and be like, hey, you should marry Jamshid. You should marry Jamshid. And Nari's like, oh, what? But then Dara says, my favorite thing, though, he goes, Nahri, you need to have children. You are the last of your kind. You need to have children, which, like, obviously I don't love when a man says, like, you need to have children, but then he follows it up with, like, the perfect thing. Nahri, I am not alive. I cannot give you children. So, like, immediately it's just like, oh, well, that's what do you say to that?
That's the point.
What do you say to that?
Because, like, that's the part where I was like, my notes were that, like, he's pushing her off onto him. He's like, that never should have happened. And she's like, it was all mutual. And then she recounts, like, wait, I was the one who, like, I don't want to say instigate, but, like, she was the one who kissed him first, on both accounts. And she's like, oh my God, it wasn't mutual. It wasn't consensual. This is me. Oh my God, who am I? He's like, no. Like, it was entirely mutual. But and I think it was the fact that that was the line. It also reminded us as the reader, oh wait, oh, that's right. Because you're still cheering for them despite it all. And I don't like the fact that he's, like, saying, like, oh, you need to have kids, you need to carry on the line. Because it feels very, she's being bred to make more healers because she's the last, like, that's what that felt like. And and that's clearly what she felt like too. And she was like, what? And he's like, you just gotta understand where I'm coming from. And then she eventually is like, fuck you. And the horse that you rode in on, I'm out.
Yeah.
So he says all these things. And of course, like, she storms off. He's frustrated. She goes in this moment. We don't see, but we find out later that she's making her own, like, agreements with the king, with Ghassan and his sons and Muntadir and everything. And then when he finds out, he's like, wait, you did what? Oh, and then I just had you in the back of my head, like, oh, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions.
Yeah, like, ooh, shocking.
They were like, and he's even trying to be like, but she's not 25. And he's like, oh, but I guess she's really eager for me. And he's like, he's about to snap, but he's like, I gotta play it cool. And he's like, well, she's the Banu Nahida. I am here for her. I am here to support her in whatever decisions she makes. But
yeah, no, for real. And it is also like through this fight though that they have in this temple that we get a little bit more background, right? Because we get the slave vessel rings. Those slave vessel rings are next to Anahid's like first altar, right? So it's like religious things. And we know that because Dara was a slave and like his ring on his hand, you know, this is all. We get a little bit more of Dara's history too. Like he was exiled for following orders, and he was exiled, and that's why he wasn't there when they sacked the city. And then he ended up fighting a bunch of the Gaziris, and he was captured by the Ifrits, you know, and that's why he was found in the well and like all of this stuff. So she hears all of his kind of background, but also like Jamshid's there too, and he's giving like little like interesting tidbits, like only devas are allowed in the temple, and there's no magic in here, and you're always pure, and like all this like little like boom 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 facts stuff. But it is after that fight that they have, they being Nahri and Dara, that we don't see them together until like the attempted kidnapping, because it is after this we go straight to the stargazing and the stargazing attempted murder of Ali by the shapeshifter, as Jess, you mentioned earlier. And that's just like wild. That is wild shit, where he gets stabbed. But I do like though that Ali is like, you know what? Nahri and I are so into these fucking stars, and Muntadir doesn't give a shit. They're a bad match.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because doesn't his dad even say like, why don't you just talk to her about like that astrology stuff that you like? And he's like, it's astronomy.
Yeah, he's like, that's not right.
Okay, but can we also backtrack a little bit to chapter 25, where Dara has his surreal moment and starts spilling the tea because he's so pissed about like the decision that Nahri made. She's like, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to marry them, and we're going to make the paperwork, and I'm going to do this, that, the other thing. And he's like, he's spilling the tea because he's jealous. And then, there's the girl that is, I don't remember her name, but she's Muntadir's, basically like his mistress, but like, I guess it's his girlfriend because he's not dating anybody else. And he's like, oh, you want that white picket fence with like, you'd escape all the palace riches to just like be on a swing and do this, that. And she's like, how do you know that? And Muntadir's not even thinking about that because he's like, but that's not what you're about. You're about Jamshed. And he's like, this is interesting. And everybody's like, because then his dad, Jamshed, then Muntadir's dad, Ghassan, brings it up at the at the end of the book. He's like, keep it in your pants. This is not where we need to be. That's not where your head needs to be at.
It's so good. Oh my God. It's so
I just
fun.
love that moment. It was so good.
Oh, it's amazing. We're in like the backslide of this book. There isn't that much left.
No, there's like 5 chapters left.
Yeah, there's not much. Yeah, there is not much. So okay. So everybody is stargazing, and then Nahri gets called away by Nazreen. She gets called to the infirmary, and that's where Ghassan is with his friend who is dying, and that's that final scene. And we'll talk about that. But it is this stargazing where the shapeshifter comes and stabs Ali, and Jamshed is up there looking for Muntadir with the wine, right? He's like, Jamshed, you up here? My guy. He's like, oh, fuck. Ali. And Ali is cold. Oh my God. He is stone cold. Ali's like, get rid of the fucking body. Get rid of the fucking body. I don't care if he's still alive. Get rid of the fucking body. Throw him in the lake. This will start a fucking war. That is cold shit. And when I read that the first time, I was like, all right, Ali, I guess your dad was right. You are capable as fuck. Okay.
Well, and I feel like, and again, like even his brother realizes it after, and Ali's like, I can't believe you think I'd be capable of killing you for the throne. And he's like, how do you not think I wouldn't think that? Because look at what you've done up until this point. That's pretty cold-hearted. And he's like, and Ali, in defense to himself, he's like, yeah, to other people, I want to do that to you. Because like that part I get. I could be a cold ass bitch to a lot of people, but if I care about you, I couldn't even, like, that wouldn't even cross my mind.
Oh. Do you think the king really cared about that advisor that he stuck in there? Do you think that was really his friend, or he was just like playing that up to make Nahri sweat?
I think he was playing it up because even Nasreen confirms it. She's like, you know why he was here, right? He's trying to get more people, like he's trying to get more people in the beds. He's trying to secure
get some money.
Yeah, like he wants to see your progress. And he's like, if he's like positioning it as this is my friend and here's my other friend, like try to light a fire under you. At the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if it was his friends, because he's like, oh, I want my people taken care of and healed first before you help like the people of my kingdom.
And this is another instance where Nahri was just like given like verbal instructions and being like, yeah, but the spirits of your ancestors will help you. And Nahri's like, what the fuck, my guy? And she ends up killing this guy. Like she cannot use the needle correctly. She can't give him any relief, and she fucking kills him before his wife gets there. And this is the other instance where Nahri's like, fuck this, I'm out. And she locks herself in her room. Good thing. Because Jamshid is carrying Ali in kind of a, what the fuck did I get myself into? Like internal dialogue, and dumps Ali in Nahri's room and is like, do something, fix him. I'm going to go get his brother.
Confession, that scene, where Nahri's like, oh my gosh, he's like carrying around this sack. And then I was like, oh, that would make sense that he put the prince in a sack so he doesn't look like he's carrying this body around the castle, the prince's body around the castle. And then when she goes, that's not a sack, that's Ali. And I was like, oh, it was never a sack, but I really liked the visual that there could have been just a potato sack, a large body bag potato sack.
It's like, hey, but it's late enough. You have to, they're in the back passages.
It's dark. It's 1700s. There's no electricity.
It's fine. So Ali is out for 4 days with this wound that Nahri has to like stitch together, and he's so thirsty, right? He just like starts chugging all of this water, and he's just so thirsty, and it's this whole thing,
and it's seeping out of his cuts.
Mm-hmm. It's all out of him, which is important because as fire beings, jinn don't sweat and they have an aversion to water. So Ali going swimming, all of this stuff, it's kind of sus, and he does it on the side, and it is something that his mother insisted on him doing, but it is just like kind of looked down upon, which is why when Zainab says like, being of mixed tribes is really hard, but you wouldn't know that because you never fucking asked me anything. I really felt that with Zainab. And it doesn't do anything to kind of dissuade the way that her character is in this book, which is not great. But I do like that Zainab's like, you never pay attention to me, Ali. Like, you wouldn't know any of this. You never talk to me. Good stuff. All good stuff. Very fun. The kidnapping. Were you expecting any of this kidnapping?
No, because it didn't turn into because it turns into a kidnapping, because what it was supposed to, it starts off as a let's run away together. And quickly turns into this jealous thing because they obviously were fighting. They hadn't spoken. Then you have Ali is in your room. Why at this time, so he already has like preconceived notions in his head. Then she's like, you don't know the whole story. Calm down. They have already been like male egoing each other for some time. And then you have like, oh, you know, Nahri, you know, you have like security on the door. Hey, is everything okay in there, Nahri? And you have Ollie like, nope, come right in. And she's like, shut the fuck up. Like, you can't, like, I love this guy. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but it's too late. But like, he takes the choice away from her. And that said, like, he kidnaps her and he's like, all right, you're here, get some iron, wrap your hands around, you're coming with us too. They go through a secret door, which gets sealed off. Goes back to the whole like houses, you know, palaces haunted situation. And then they're off. He's like, we're going to run away together. Like, and she's like, this isn't who you are. Like that we have so many other things that we need to discuss. There's like, but don't hurt him. Like I need to take care of him. He needs to be healed. If we don't do this, I'll never forgive you. But then of course it's the back and forth. Don't do that to him or I'll never forget you. It's all like, she's trying to maintain some control and there is no control happening.
No, there's no control happening at all. And I do appreciate Ali too. Ali being like, oh, well, what is this? Like, were you gonna go? Like, were you gonna, what?
But you signed the papers. That was the other thing. Ali was like, you signed, you promised us, you did this, that, the other thing. She's like, I don't even know what the hell is happening right now. Calm down.
Yeah. And so by the time they get to the copper boat, right? By the time they get to the copper boat and they like go through the veil and it's revealed that Ali was in on this, which I love. And Ali's like, I'm sorry about all of this. Like we knew about the boat. We couldn't use it. It's like, it has to be the Devas. Like we couldn't do it.
Oh yeah. Cause he's just like, I'm so sorry to break this to you, Nahri.
Yeah.
And I was like, boom. And then you got like arrows coming everywhere and they've all been like setting up because they're like, oh yeah, like we learned from this angle, you can't see anything and you wouldn't know.
Yeah. So here comes the soldiers. Here comes Mutadir. Here comes the arrows, Jamshed, all these people are coming because like, Dara's like, we have allies. We can get out of here. It's fine. We have supporters. We have backers. He has like a guy. He has like
I know a guy.
Yeah. He has like a single guy. But this confrontation from here leads to everything that happens from here on out because like what happens? Dara fucking shoots Ali, like just straight up shoots Ali, right? Like one in the chest, one in the throat. Is that right? Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Like
throat first, then chest. And I was like, ooh, double ooh.
Yeah. And Ali just goes straight back into the water, which we know that from the initial crossing into Davabad that you don't touch the water. You don't go into the lake. Like Ali has had to execute prisoners in the boat. You don't go into the water. Prisoners actually prefer to be like smothered in brass instead of jumping into the water because of the Marid. And there's like a whole situation we'll talk to the Marid.
And we also know if no head, not dead.
Yes, if no head, not dead. So Ali goes into the water and it's like Ali has his own POV situation.
This is the moment like everybody thinks Ali is dead.
Yeah,
like,
Ali is dead.
Everybody's like devastated. Everybody's actions from Ali's family side is stemmed from grief in this moment because they think he's dead. Especially with what we know about the water.
Yes. So Mutadir goes into a rage and he starts like attacking and trying to do all of the things. And Dara has now started to scourge him, which is terrible. He is scourging Mutadir, very terrible. Now Ali is having his own POV. I do not think I would have resisted Ali does not resist the Marid possession. He is shown really horrible images. He is in excruciating pain. These animals are biting him. He's being possessed by the Marids. And they show him these images and say, like, give us your name, give us your name, give us your name. Because as we have said, names have power, all of this stuff. And Ali fucking gives it. He's like, yo, it's this. And then out comes Ali, black eyes, covered in like sea detritus, whatever, and has Suleiman's ring, is that right? Suleiman's seal, takes all the power away and just starts like fucking up the day. Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. Like cannot get through to him kind of situation. He's possessed at this point. Chops off Dara's hand, because the hand has the ring, because being possessed, they're all talking about the ring, get the ring, kill him, all this stuff, kill the Deva. And he does, and he turns to ash. And Nahri, we find out in the following chapter or two, she basically is like blacked out with rage and grief and doesn't even know what's happening. And he turns to ash. And even at that point, I was like, I know I said head not dead, but like we could do something with the ring. We could do something with the ashes. Like something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. This is fine. This is only book one, especially because we're reading it now. I know it's a complete trilogy. So like you can't just give me this like character that with such significance in book one and think I'm not going to be like, so it's going to turn out fine. But I was like, in that moment, it was very much like, oh, they did it. There's follow through there.
They did it. Yeah, they did. The YA always does the thing, and they did the thing. So there's like a blackout, right? So like Ali blacks out. Everybody's blacking out. We wake up. Everybody wakes up later. Everybody wakes up later. Nahri wakes up and she is like trying to cut herself to try to redo the czar that got her Dara in the first place. And she's like trying to get everything right. She can't do it. So Ali wakes up and he's in the infirmary and his dad is there. And like, Nazreen is all these baskets of all these animals that they've taken off of him. His body is completely scarred. And we get with Ghassan here a little bit about the Marid, which I think is really fun and really interesting. It's just this more lore that we have. Like, no, like the Marid are real. Like Zadie saw them in the beginning. Like, we made an agreement to never betray the Marid, and the Marids helped us take over the Nahids. Like we were all up in each other's business, and we just don't talk about it anymore.
Well, this is how like Ali is finding out the truth of what everybody else had already known and has been dancing around him for so long.
Yeah. And and Ghassan is telling him all of this, like, kind of sadly, too. Like, looking at him like, because I feel at this point, like, he knows. Like, he knows because Ali is, like, guzzling water, he's sweating. All of this stuff is happening to him that is just, like, not normal. So it is because of all of this. And, like, Muttadir's like, you can't be here. You're controlling water. You're making pipes explode. You're like making bowls of water explode. Like you have to get out of here. You have to control this. This is just going to bring more like political fallout to the family. And then a little bit later, Ghassan is like, I fucking banish you. I banish you because I cannot give the order to kill you because you're my fucking favorite son. But because I'm banishing you, all those assassins are going to kill you anyway. It is what it is. And I feel bad for him about that, because it's the confrontation in the mosque, right? Because Ghassan is like, I executed Rashid. He's gone, right? He's gone. And by the way, Ali, I want you to use your fucking brain. The Shafit want to set you up as king. Like, can you get this through your fucking head?
And he really doesn't see it.
No, he doesn't see it at all. At all. And then Ghassan is like, I don't know how you can't. You have these massive Ayanle backers from your mom's side. This is the you are capable line. Basically, you're scaring the shit out of me. I'm banishing you to the desert. It is what it is. And you're gone. And that is kind of how that scene ends. And we get, again, I really do like the king. We get the king confronting Nahri. And Nahri, who has not been out of bed this whole time. So this is like the first confrontation she has with the king after Dara's like, quote, quote, death. And the king is like, oh yeah, this is the full circle moment. Yeah, I sold that you're Manaisa, you're under a curse. I sold all of that so well. I'm such a good actor. Give me the Oscar. They are calling her, for sure, the Scourge's whore now. But I like the spin that the king tries to pull on this, because he's like, look, we can say this happened. We can say this happened. We can say this happened.
He's giving her, he's like, but it's going to be one of these things.
It's going to be one of the things that I thought of. But I'm going to let you, like, let's work on this together. What's your attitude on this? I'm going to start spitting truths. Like, I'm going to tell you about Kwaizi. I'm going to tell you what your boy did. I'm going to tell you why we call him the Scourge. I don't give a shit. I'm going to lay it all out there, right? It's all very kind of on the nose. But then the king is like, I don't know, what if I shit on your reputation? Then what? Like, let's work this out together, or else we're just going to make each other miserable. And this is where we get the signed, sealed, confirmed marriage contract, right? At the end of this is kind of where we get it.
She's also I feel like she's kind of like feels helpless at this point too. And there's bigger things going on that she doesn't realize. She kind of does in this moment in a way, because the people, when she's signing this contract, they're doing like this special salute that they only do for the Deva people. And it wasn't towards, it was more specific towards Dara and not to Muntadir and his family. And to the point where she's picking up where the last line of the book, hold on, I have it. Always smile at your marks.
Yeah. Nahri knows.
Yeah. So like at one point she was very like defeated, but then when that was happening in that last like paragraph of the book, she's like, okay, there's something bigger, but which we find out in the epilogue. So all this is happening, and you have, you have Kaveh, who is Ghassan's grand vizier. His son is in the infirmary with Nazreen. His son is, I forgot his name. Jamshed. He's in the infirmary with Jamshed, who's essentially in a coma, and he's trying to take off a certain kind of like scar that was tattooed on him more or less when he was born. And Nazareen's like, what are you doing? You can't do that. Like, you don't know how the magic is going to react. It's going to be a tell. We have to lay low. There's a bigger picture involved. You need to get Ghassan to trust you again. You're his vizier, all this stuff. And they're like, do you have the ring? Or no, then Nazreen shows Kaveh that she has Dara's ring still. And I was like, yes, that was just very like satisfactory for me, because I knew that was going to have a payoff. And he's like, how'd you find it? Does she know, referring to Nahri? Does she know like all the bigger plays that are happening? And Nazreen's like, we can't get her hopes up yet. She basically, again, she blacked out from grief and anger. Like, she didn't even remember that he died. Like, we can't bring anything into it. And that way, God forbid anything happens and the king is attuned like he has been, she really can play innocent, so she can still carry out whatever these other things are. And you're already finding out, they're like, is this one family in play? They go, yep. And then their son he understands what his job is, and he also understands that he's going to have to unalive himself. And there's just hope for Manaisa. And this is where we get the confirmation that she's still alive.
That she's still alive. So like this person that has just been haunting this first book with trying to learn everything and like this, all of it. She's still alive. Oh my gosh. And that is how it ends for book 2. Jess, did you like this book?
I liked it. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. I know you love this book. You've been talking about it for basically since you read it for the first time. And what's been your favorite? What you've read this 3 times now. Do you have a favorite part, or is it just like an overarching theme, or has it changed? Your favorite part changed each of the times you've read it?
I don't really have a favorite part. I just have like favorite lines and things that Nahri says where she's just like asserting herself and just being like, no, fuck you. I love, it's such like a weird character. I just really like the king. He's plotting. I like it when he plots, but he's not an evil king. He cares about his people. He loves his sons. He's trying to do the best. He says like kingdom above all, even above family. I like the king. I like the king a lot, which is like very rare for me. Not to say I don't love Nahri. I love Nahri. She's such a capable, like main character. And I love that Ali starts off one way and at the end he's like, maybe, but he's completely changed. Like he starts off really rigid and he is the thing that he was afraid of at the very end. And it's so fun. I think maybe like favorite parts would be like, honestly, like establishing shots of the world building. I just would love to see this with a high budget, high quality. I think it'd be really stunning and something that you don't see a lot on TV. And it's gorgeous. I think it would be gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, I think I sent you a couple before we started recording of like people who've kind of put, I don't want to say mood boards, but like mood TikToks available. Like they create it and you're like, oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. Like this is exactly how I imagined it. So when you see that it translates for other people too, it's just such a rich culture. And I mean, that's already established. We know this, but like just like the rich visuals that you get with this book that makes it exciting to go right into the second one.
Did you have a favorite character?
I liked them all, which is weird because usually I have like one that sticks out right away and it's usually just like the female main character. I think they all brought something. So it was really interesting. So like, yes, we know who our mains are, but even as quote unquote side characters, they were all very valuable.
I agree. Hard agree. Would you recommend this book? Here's a caveat. Would you recommend this book for somebody wanting to start fantasy?
I don't think this is where you start fantasy. I think it depends on where you come from. Maybe that's what it is. I wouldn't recommend this book if you're to start fantasy if you're coming from romance. But if you were maybe coming from maybe like a historical fiction, so it's not necessarily straight romance, but there's a lot of political intrigue, or different mythologies, not necessarily Greek, but just like or not even Celtic, honestly, but just like having some like AAPI kind of familiarity and background, I think that I think this book would be great to be like, oh, you know, if you like this, like you might want to transition into this, or just to have like a vibe. Like really, it is such a vibe. And I think having how the author sets it up right away, just say like, hey, 1700s Cairo, you already know so much. Like if you love The Mummy, if you're looking for like visuals, this could be like, oh, you know what? I want like because this isn't The Mummy, but I'm saying like, if you're like, I want this type of vibe, this could be a starting point to be like, and I want some fantasy too.
Very fun. Oh, very fun. Very excited for book 2.
Yeah. And she like, and I saw physical copies. They progressively get thicker, like with all fantasy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And Ali is banished. So I think we can make a general observation about book 2. We're going to be.
It's a travel book. We got book 2 as a travel book, but that is consistent and not in a bad way. We know it's a travel book. We know it's a confirmed trilogy. All 3 books are out. So, this is going to be really fun and like going into that. And all I know because of, one of the interviews that I read from 2017 when this book first came out is the author said like there is only one new character that she's added and everybody else is like pretty much the same. Like we're familiar with the characters and there's one new character. So, so this is going to be fun. So thanks for following us. Thanks for listening. We're on Instagram, ACOFAE Podcast. We're also both on TikTok, ACOFAE Laura and ACOFAE Jessica. Thanks for joining and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Bye.